All right, guys. So basically, one of the advantages of living in the rural side of England, that is the countryside, is that you are. Let's see how it goes. You've got something like all these places. Guys, what exactly is life like? You know, moving to the countryside of England, that is the rural area, the village side of England. You want to move to England and you are wondering if there are any advantages in terms of cost of living. Is it relatively affordable? Is it safe living in a place like this, the countryside of England in United Kingdom? All right, thank you, Black Beauty TV. You actually inspired this video. You asked me to create a content about life in the countryside, the pros and the cons of living in the rural side of England. So this is why I am here today, to bring to you the benefits, disadvantages of living in the rural countryside. So basically, one of the advantages of living in the rural side of England, that is the countryside, is that you are surrounded by this beautiful nature around. Look at the beauty of nature. Look at the trees, look at the stream, and look at the dogs swimming in the stream. And it's a quiet place. You come here for solitude. You relax, you think, you pray to your God. If you are a praying type, you listen to your inner mind, you listen to yourself. You can talk to yourself and hear responses, from your inner self to your own self. So it's such a beautiful place that is devoid of noise. Oh, look at that. Look at the birds flying and swimming. So this is one of the major advantages of staying in the rural side of England. The second benefit of living in the countryside is that there is no rush. There is this reduced traffic. The countryside is usually peaceful, quiet, and calm. No peak time, no rush hours. Look at the roads. Everywhere is calm. You can get out and catch up with an appointment within the countryside at any time. Now, in the countryside, you can also breathe in fresh quality air. Yes, this is the second point. No pollution, no air pollution in the countryside, because the air is always very clean. The atmosphere is calm. There is no need worrying about having or developing lung issues because of the tranquility and clear air in the countryside. So when it comes to living expenses such as buying your groceries, they are usually cheaper. Buying your toiletries, stuff like foodstuff, they are usually cheaper in the countryside as against the bigger city, where you have all them brand stores like Asda, Lidl, your big brand stores or stores with the big brand names, But in the countryside, those things are being produced, especially farm produce. When it comes to stuff like vegetables, they usually have farmers within the countryside where you can easily walk into the farmstead and buy all this directly from farmers, for those who are willing to sell retail rather than taking to the shop at first. All right, so another fascinating thing is about the space of land you buy in the rural area. It's more larger, as compared to the space you are able to buy if you're buying a house or renting a house in the rural England. You have more space when it comes to the outside, the garden, and close to all this natural gift of nature. You can easily walk into a park. You can easily go outdoors and do climbing, hiking, hunting, fishing. So you usually have large amount of space in your compound or in your house. Is against the space you would have when buying a house in the city area. Right, so safety is another point to be considered when moving to the rural area. Yes, statistics has it that it is safer staying in the rural area because it is quieter with less population, and it is always difficult to come across someone who is ill-minded or who would want to hurt you in the rural England, compared to the city, where there are a lot of frustrated people who are frustrated by traffic, by the cost of living, by not being able to afford what they want, angry people who are looking for a job. They could have ill minds, thereby thinking of harming people. So this is how they come about the statistics that there are less what is it called? Less crime in the rural England as against the rate of crime in the city centers. All right, so the last point, the last benefits of living in rural England is that you do not have to worry about nosy neighbors, amebo, gossip neighbors, monitoring spirits. You have the freedom to play your loud music, make noise, jump, do whatever you want. Your children have freedom to play around, make noise on top of their voices without having that nosy neighbor who would always call the police to report them that the kids are making noise and they wouldn't let them sleep. This is what happens in the city area. When you live in the crowded area in the city, your neighbor, the nature of structures in this very country, and the way they build their structures. When you are doing something in your house, even running up the staircase, the sound alone from your feet can actually wake up somebody in the next house, and somebody can even hear when you are making up. I didn't say that, but that's true, to be honest, especially if the people involved are a bit loud, but these things are not really common in the rural England or in a countryside as this, because it's usually calm and quiet, peaceful. All right, so considering the cons, that's the disadvantages of living in rural England. Man, transportation is entirely useless. Yes, there are little or no transportation access, because when you live in the countryside, buses don't normally run as it would in the city side. You might even get one single bus in an hour, or about 2 or 3 buses running through your area in the whole day. Yes, so transportation is usually difficult. And secondly, there is this geographical isolation. Yes, you live alone, you live in a world apart. You live alone. Yes, and it is basically not good if for an introvert, even if you are an extrovert, it is entirely not great enough. Yes, for someone to be isolated. To be honest, someone like me cannot live in the countryside of England because it's entirely isolated. Yes, I like life in the city. In the rural England as well, there is this limited job opportunities. There are no much job in the rural area because there are no much businesses, no shops around, no factories around, and there are no much people in the rural England. This is another disadvantages of living in the countryside. Unless you already have a job and you decided to move to the rural England and you drive, so you can easily drive yourself to work without having to wait for a bus. Coming to this place where I am filming, honestly, it was a tug of war transporting myself from the city to this very place. Yes. So getting a job in the rural area, it is quite difficult unless you want to go into farming proper. So another con of living in the countryside is that road networks are not easily maintained. It's not as smooth as you would have in the town center. Take for instance, if there is a heavy snow, to be honest, in the city centers, before you wake up in the morning, they must have scraped or cleared the roads for people to drive along. But in the track roads in the rural area, you would see them remaining the same. The snow will still be there. So you would struggle to drive, to cycle within the rural area. Next point is that nightlife is not common in the rural community. Yes, there are no much clubs, no much pubs. So if you are the one that likes night activity, clubbing, partying, forget it. Rural community is not for you. You will find it difficult associating with people or making friends within the rural side of England. Guys, so the next point is that there are no big shops. Your shops, those shops with especially those shops with brand names, your big brand name shops, might be difficult for you to come across shops like Asda, Lidl. If you like shopping in Sainsbury's, you like a particular shop, trust me, in the rural community, you would even be looking for something like convenience shops. And I tell you what, buying stuff off the convenience shops are not that cheaper. Though I am talking about in the city centers, even me that lives close to Tesco, I know convenience shops in my area, they are not quite cheaper. Groceries from the convenience shops. So there are no shops, all these your big brand name shops, where you would like to be shopping all the time because they are cheaper or you like their products. They hardly exist. You hardly find this in the rural community. All right, so the final disadvantage of living in the countryside is that nature would definitely come visit you. It is very much possible. Things like crawling stuff, insects, ladybugs, snakes and scorpions. Oh my goodness, they would come visiting, they would come crawling into your house. These are the things I wouldn't just like, to be honest with you. Okay, because I dread anything that crawls, snakes and scorpions, ants and lizards. Oh God, they are common. Ladybugs in the rural side. Yes, be rest assured that definitely they will come knocking at your door. Uninvited guests, these are what they are. They don't even knock. Yes, you find them into the house. All right, guys. I think this video might have convinced you in case you are considering moving to the rural England, yes, or staying in the city, which is preferred. But as an immigrant, honestly, I wouldn't consider moving to the rural community, especially the countryside, because there you would definitely find less number of immigrants within the countryside as against the city center. Not really the city center or Askech or the towns around the city center should be better rather than moving down to the countryside as this. No, it is it's a no for me, to be honest. It's entirely a no for me. I wouldn't like to. Yeah, no. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you, Black Beauty TV, for making this video come true, despite that it took me ages to come up with it. All right, see you again in my next upload. Bye.